Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We're going to swing out to the west coast of California. That's west coast for me because I'm in Florida. Lisa Lyons out of California, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. A couple weeks ago, you sent me some before and after pictures of your horse's hoof that was severely foundered. And the pictures are quite shocking. We've been running this as an ad for the last couple weeks, and it's got a lot of activity. And let's just talk about this particular horse. How long have you had him, and how did you learn about the Equinety, and what were your thoughts when you first got the Equinety?
Okay, well, Calvin is a 10-year-old, 17-hand national show horse. I've had him for 2.5 years. He was purchased as a project horse. He was underweight, undermuscled, didn't have the greatest feet, but had a heart of soul. So got him into training, was given a sample of your product at a horse show. And like so many samples, threw it in my bag, didn't think too much of it at the time. When I got home, I decided to read the back of it, do a little research, was impressed with the ingredients. The testimonials seemed good. It's not a banned substance, so I can give it to my horses and that go to USEF shows, not worry about any, drug testing problems. And right off the bat, I noticed with Calvin, he seemed more focused, more calm, better attitude, better focus, and as an added bonus, he was in training, was getting good nutrition and good farrier care, but he started developing a much better top line, better muscle quality, and unbeknownst to me, it was helping him grow out his soles. He didn't have the greatest feet and had some corrective shoeing done. And anyway, flash forward to previous May, he'd been doing great and then came down with a severe case of mechanical founder. It happened very quickly. One day he was fine. Next day I got the call, and it was a touch and go for a while. He had to be hospitalized twice, a lot of radiographs, a lot of vet care, change of diet. During his vet care, he was hooked up to IVs because everything got so inflamed. And one thing my vet commented on during all the radiographs was that he had a good amount of soul, which probably saved his life. Mm-hmm. Because when he rotated, the coffin bone didn't drop down due to the thickness of his soul.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, so you've had him for 2.5 years. After about 6 months of owning him is when you started him on the Equinety, and that's where you really noticed the muscle quality, the attitude focus, and a little did you know it was also helping with the sole depth, which is obviously came in handy for this mechanical founder. Now, for those that are tuning in and have never heard of mechanical founder, could you tell us exactly what that is?
Sure. In my layman's terms, I'm not a vet. Most founders caused by something metabolic, insulin resistance, Cushing's, are highly susceptible to laminitic issues. And with mechanical founder, due to conformation, and his conformation is very straight up and down. And that's how it was explained to me by the vet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I find that, what I want to say is I find this interesting because it's the first story that I've heard of where, you had started the horse on the Equinety product and he was on it for 1.5 years, and then this happened where, well, it would have been life ending for him if it wouldn't have been the sole depth.
Yeah,
now
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, here's the one thing that we try to get across to people in a lot of these podcasts or for educational purposes, so we can try to help educate people on the benefits of amino acids. And ours specifically, there's no fillers, no sugars, no starches. But the thing that's so unique about it is that they're specifically formulated to stimulate the pituitary gland, which is the master gland in the body. And that's what releases the necessary hormones which help heal at a cellular level. Now, with all that being said, it's not a miracle supplement. It's not, one of these things that is going to cure anything. What we try to get across is when you use this product in conjunction with what you're already doing, the best things for your horse. And in your case, you're feeding him really great feed and giving him great care. He's got a great, vets and farriers. So they're getting the best of everything. And you just added this to it. And added the Equinety to his daily regime. And, these are the things that you started noticing. But a year and a half, so now he comes down with this founder. Now, when this podcast is published, below the podcast on our website, I'll have all this transcribed. But I'm going to put the pictures of these bottom of this hoof so people can see, which is just startling, how quickly the recovery was. So let's get back into... He comes down with this mechanical founder. He's really kind of on death's door. He's IVs and all this stuff. So what was the future of this horse, really, as it was sitting at this point? What was the doctor or the vet saying?
Well, we had a couple talks. I was worried if he was going to be suffering long term. Obviously, no horse owner wants to put their horse through that. I asked her if she thought he could recover. She said yes. Asked her what the recovery time was. She said probably a year until he, was sound, and that he probably would never be ridden again. If so, maybe lightly, at a walk, maybe an easy trail ride, but that he would never be able to be under, a workload again. Mm-hmm. And that was in August. And then in September, he developed a pretty good sized abscess, and the radiograph showed it was a couple centimeters away from the coffin bone. And with the help of my vet, the farrier and vet were able to drain it, pack it, clean it. And that was end of September. And 12 weeks later, that's the two pictures, that's a 12-week span, the hoof had I'd say 85% healed. The sole of his hoof had healed, blowing everybody away, and the amount of grow out of healthy hoof has been phenomenal. And I'm happy to report that in the last 5 weeks, he has been back to work, lunging, long lining, cantering freely, no pain, totally sound, happy as a clam.
Oh my gosh.
Totally blew everybody's, and now now the vet and trainer saying, well, maybe, he could be a show horse again. If he's not, that's okay. And I'm just happy that he's sound and healthy.
Wow. Well, I tell you, mm-hmm. It cracks me up, and sometimes I have to hold myself back because, we run a lot of advertising on Facebook, and, the before and after picture that you sent me, it's doing very well with all the interactions and things, but it always cracks me up when you have the comments that are thrown in there that, oh, well, it's look at that horrible hoof trim, or look at, it's cut to this. They always have their opinion. They always have their opinion.
Well, I know. I kind of laugh. It's like, would you like to see my $10,000 vet bills?
Oh, I know.
Everything that's been done has been under veterinary care, and we even fly in a specialized farrier from Oregon that has, experience with foundered horses, mm-hmm. working hand in hand with my vet and my trainers on board and nutrition and body workers. And it's like, really, we're not hacking into his hoof because we don't know what we're doing.
Yes.
It's dead infected hoof.
Right. Yeah.
So, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I guess with social media, anybody can have their 3 seconds of fame by typing in whatever in
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
There's always going to be naysayers.
Yeah.
And, that's, it's a free world. Think what you want. I just know I'm looking at a horse that's happy and cantering and in great condition right now.
Yeah. And I think the important takeaway with this is, in this particular situation, you definitely spent thousands of dollars and you have the best care. And when you add this product to whatever's going on with your horse, it helps speed up in this case, the recovery, helped everything speed up. But if we go back and we've kind of already mentioned this, but fortunately, because he had already been on product for a year and a half, the soul depth was at his savings grace, really, because that would have just been disastrous.
That was crucial. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something else, he'd been on it for a while, and due to the severity of his founder, he was confined to a stall for 5 months, heavily padded stall, either at the hospital or at our barn. And he was so calm and so good, and my vet commented that he was the best patient ever. She said quite often after a month, horses have to be sedated. They just start losing it after being, stall rest for long periods of time. And he was a happy boy. He was mellow, he was calm, he was good, he was totally chill.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, he did his part. Everybody did their part. Yeah. The vet did her part, farrier did his part, trainer did her part, the product, the Equinety did his part, and Calvin did his part. He wasn't kicking, he wasn't making things worse.
Sure. Yep. All right, Lisa, I also understand that you've been giving the Equinety to your hot-headed redhead mare that also has Cushing's. So how long have you been giving the product to her, and what benefits have you seen since you've been giving it to her?
Same amount of time, given that sample at the horse show a couple years ago. And she is a 20-year-old national show horse mare diagnosed with Cushing's. About 3 years ago, we noticed she just was getting really furry and not shedding out. And she's a picky eater. She'll take it no problem. And thankfully with her, she has never had any laminitic issues, which is one of the downfalls of Cushing's. She's 20 years old. She's in great shape. People are blown away when they find out she's 20. She's probably more game than my 10-year-old gelding. And great body tone, great attitude. And, the nice thing about the product is the cost. So many supplements out there are so expensive, and it works out to $1 a day per horse. That's less than a cup of coffee, so definitely doable.
Yeah. Were you surprised at the when you opened that little lid and looked at the scoop?
Uh-huh.
What was your reaction about the scoop size?
I couldn't believe it's tiny. It looked like something you'd give a small kid.
Yeah. So for those of tuning in, the serving size, if you've never tried the product, it's 5.2 grams, so it's just shy of a tablespoon. And it doesn't matter the size of the animal because we're targeting the pituitary gland, which is the size of a pea, roughly, in mammals, whether it be a dog or a horse. So, we have a lot of people that, big horses or big draft horses, or if they've got a little mini, they're like, oh, do I just give half? Nope, you give the same serving size to all of them. So, awesome. Yep. Great. Yeah, so I think if for the people that are tuning in for the first time and wondering if this product is really for their horse, in your case, you had you were just given a sample way back when, and it really helped with his demeanor, focus, stamina, helped build muscle. He's a show horse, so you're needing all those components, and then used, I guess it would be safe to say almost at that point as a preventative, not knowing that that's what it was going to be with helping the soul depth, because that's what really saved him in that aspect. But if there's anybody that's tuning in, just learning about this product for the first time that might be a little skeptical because, here's a product that claims to do all this stuff, or at least people are saying that it does all this stuff, what advice would you have for them, or anything that you'd have to say to maybe to get them to try the product for themselves?
Well, I would say try it. There's nothing harmful in there. There's no fillers. There's no additives. Read the ingredients. If you're not sure, give it a try. What have you got to lose? I'm so grateful that I was given that sample because I honestly didn't know about it. And I saw results. And, the first thing I noticed was his demeanor. He was calmer. He was more focused. And then I noticed everything else happening, and then the happy accident was, unbeknownst to me, it was creating thicker soles, which saved my horse's life.
Yep, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, that is great. I know there's people going to benefit from hearing your story there, and glad that he's doing awesome, and would love to have an updated podcast maybe in 6 months or so and see how he's doing at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal is the last 6 weeks has been doing groundwork, getting out every day, getting lunged, long lined, and the goal is after the new year, get on him and start lightly riding him again.
Wow. Well, that's a long ways from the first prognosis.
Yeah, I mean, that's a way long ways away when he's getting carted off to the hospital.
Right. Wow. Well, Lisa, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story here on the Equinety Podcast. Lisa Lyons out of California, thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for a great product.
Oh, thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.